Oh, look at your very official door too.
Oh yeah. What's funny about this place is like we just like it was an idea, and then I just was like started like just buying stuff.
Yeah.
That's really what it was. So anyways, we don't really have a starter and intro to these. We just start talking.
Just
It's the way to do it.
Yeah, we're just a lot of people have been like, what's the name of this podcast? I'm like, I don't know. I have no idea. I'm
It'll
like,
come together.
It'll just come together
Yeah.
sooner or later. So what's going on, people? Thanks for doing that photo shoot right now.
That was so fun.
I have never had one of those before since like
haven't?
senior photos 2005. So it's very awkward for me to be taking photos.
Yeah.
I'm really like it's not. I'm
You
not a
did
fan.
great.
Thank you. I appreciate
You were
that.
a pro.
It's like you said, we're the opposite. I like video. Put me on video all day long, but
Yeah.
photo, I'm like, oh, God.
Yeah.
Well, by now you probably don't even realize the camera's there.
No, I really don't anymore. It's hard when I'm like, I tell you, going into YouTube and having to have different cadences, it has been very difficult for me to change. Like, I'm actually now like performing, I feel like, on camera. Like on YouTube, we've changed our cadence where like when a video comes in, I have to go, "Hi, my name is Adam Swartz.
Yeah. Hey
This
guys,
is your
welcome to my
first
channel."
welcome to my channel. If you're into if you're into real estate podcasts and cool stuff like scooter videos, hit the subscribe button." Like, I feel such a tool. This is why I don't do TikTok, because I feel like a tool. And then like now we're doing a better job of doing like intro videos, like on today's video, and then going to like a small intro bumper.
Right.
So it's just making those little changes. But dude, it takes me probably like 4 or 5 times longer to do those videos because I'm used to talking so fast for Instagram and trying to keep it inside of a minute.
Yeah.
And knowing that I can make a video longer on YouTube, it's like I'm not used to it.
It's like a different rhythm.
It's a totally different rhythm.
Yeah.
So
It's such a balance you're trying to hit of because you have to be genuine and authentic and real. And if if you go to a level where you are performing or not being yourself, then people just aren't interested. But you have to be engaging. So it's been interesting for us over the last few months of shooting and trying to find that spot where I'm still me, like we're being ourselves, but we're trying to communicate in an engaging way. It's just hitting that balance, I think, which is hard to find.
I think the biggest thing that I'm starting to learn is like how I have to ask questions to the cameras to have people interact with me in comments.
Right.
Like that's something new that I'm having to work on.
Yeah.
And then also too, like if I'm talking about like a food vlog, knowing that like that food vlog's there, and then I can like it also remind me, hey, if you want to watch that food vlog, click above.
Yeah.
Which I'm not used to doing those kind of cadences either, and trying to remember that while I'm going is difficult.
Have you guys done a takeout food vlog?
Yeah, we've done a few here. It's just like we've tapped out. Like we can't do anymore.
Right.
Like there's nothing left. So, and it's just like, it's just boring. You know what I mean? It's not fun. The B-roll is what kind of draw people in. You know what I mean? So when you have no B-roll, it's so
You're
difficult.
like, here's a plastic bag.
Yeah,
Here's
here's
a
the
white
container. Here's the same office table you've seen a million times. So, well, shoot, while we were on the topic, so how's your guys' first like month of like going hard on like, the podcast and like having a camera guy and this kind of stuff like that? Are you enjoying it, liking it? Good feedback?
Yeah, we love it. I mean, anything creative, being involved in the creative process with anything is where I get excited. So launching the magazine, because the magazine we launched here, we did that for about 4.5 years in North Carolina. And so pretty much knew what to expect and were able to get it off the ground pretty quickly. So I think I would have got bored pretty easily if we were just did the same thing here. So that whole creative process is what I enjoy. I'm usually Marissa has to keep me grounded because we're like halfway through figuring something out, and I'm like on to the next thing.
Yeah. I'm like, we still have to do this.
Yeah.
So stay with me.
But we love it. I mean, I think at the end of the day, the thing we love most is connecting with people and telling their story. And now, the world we live in now, there's just so many outlets to, through video and through the magazine, photography, and the podcasts. There's so many different outlets that tell people's story and connect with them that we're trying to maximize all those different outlets. And
it's almost like you get pulled too thin sometimes, where you're like, you have to start making choices like, what do we do? What do we not do? Especially because it can get out of control really quickly on like, oh, let's do a vlog. Okay, let's do this. Let's do that. And then also, for me on the aspect is still like do real estate transactions.
Right.
And like remind myself or remind other people like, I don't get paid to do media. Right? Like I'm not making money off this vlog, right? I'm just trying to post content that I think a lot of people don't realize is like, my job is still real estate. That's where I make all my money. It's how I pay for everything.
Yeah.
Right.
And so I think sometimes I have to do a better job of reminding people that it's like, I'm also a real estate agent. Like I actually do sell houses, and that's something I need to work on. But for you guys, it's like because for you, I think too, is great is like, for everyone else other than me, and we had a lot of cameras in the room today, but like everyone else you're probably interviewing, this is the first time they're on a podcast or they're on video, and they're like, ooh, whoa, this is all new and different, and like, and now you're bringing
everybody has
something.
a slightly different reaction to it.
Oh,
Some
really?
people are like so uncomfortable, and other people are total naturals.
That's how our clients are sometimes. Like we have to like be, especially like a Zillow buyer or something like super new and Brant's with me or Adrian's with me. It's like do we pull the camera out? Do we not? Like we have to be so careful on like what people do. It's because you just don't want to upset anyone, you know what I mean, or offend someone, or put them on tape if they don't want to be, you know.
Right.
How do you communicate that beforehand?
When I show up, like I just usually have Brant like with his camera down, and then I introduce him as who he is. I just go, hey, this is my video guy. He videotapes me all the time. If you want to be on video, great. If not, great. It doesn't matter. So if they're kind of like, and we kind of vibe them out too to kind of see like when they see the camera, like how they act and stuff. And if they're like kind of weirded out, then we just like, he just goes and shoots B-roll. Like just go shoot some B-roll of the house or whatever. But there's some times too where it's like we'll get done, and if they're cool about being on video, and then we get done, like literally I'll have to go to Brand and be like, that can't be on. We're talking about a deal or something, or I just don't want people to know what we're talking about. So then I have to scrap it. Yeah. You know.
How do you, when you were talking about earlier about kind of measuring like what you're doing and what you're going to put energy into, like how do you personally do that? Like, cause especially from a creative person where you might have 5 or 6, 7 to 8 ideas and you jump into it. I'm just curious, like what's your
I've tried to figure out like what, like I think like we were talking about like TikTok, right? The reason I'm not on TikTok is I feel like I would be an idiot on TikTok. I don't think that brings value to people. I think at the end of the day, everything I'm showing you has to somehow bring value. And the value could be anything. It could be what new restaurant to go to. It could be what new spots are. This, right? Somehow it has to bring value to someone. Because I feel like if I'm bringing value to someone, then people will watch. And I've come to terms finally, and I said it on Dom's, if that mastermind ever comes out today, like I know I am not going to get the same reaction as a hot 25-year-old girl on Instagram. I'm just not. Like I'm a guy. Like I've figured out
like
I am not entertaining. And the thing is, my niche is a lot smaller, right? Like if you guys notice today, like we have a lot of fun here, but the hard part is that balancing what we can put out there and what we can't put out there in the brand. I sometimes really wish, I always make this comment, I wish I had like tons of money, and I would still do this because I love working, but I could just go rogue and I could just go off the rails. And if people don't like me, that's fine. Just like whatever I want. Like I was talking about the other day doing a top 5. I'm still going to shoot it, but like the top 5 things I wish I could do, wish I knew someone told me before getting into real estate.
Right.
Really, my top 5 I can't even say on tape, right? But I would love to be so real, but it would upset people. Right. It would offend my clients. It would offend these people, and that's something that's happened into the past where I've one of my best videos ever was, and this is a true story. So I sold a house, and it was in La Sierra area, and I was listing. We had the buy side. The buyers were like trying to sue us and all this stuff, right? Ended up closing the deal. Well, I had to go get my Supra. So I literally had someone drive me. I'm like, okay, keep the car running. I'm going to run in, grab the Supra, and run back out. And they videotaped me. And I posted it saying, like, when you don't want to run into the buyers. Well, one of my past clients thought that was their house and thought that I was talking about them and got all upset. No. And that was kind of something for me. I'm just like, dang, like that was really funny. But then I came to terms like it's always gonna come off wrong to someone, right? So for me, like if I'm bringing value in some way, then I'll post it. If it's just nonsense and I'm just space filling, then I just don't do it. Right? Like I could post my dogs all the time and get likes, but it's like, what's the point? That's not bringing value to anyone. You know what I mean? So my job as a true professional is to bring value. And if I want to be looked at as a professional and not just like everyone else, then I have to bring value and I have to sacrifice likes and comments and whatever to bring what I tell people to bring, because I think most realtors, and you're in the industry, all the non-producers, luckily the people you're not interviewing, they just post stuff like it matters who you work with, or you guys see the meme that goes around where every realtor posts the same meme. Like Like right now, the new thing is like, if you're tired of living in your house after quarantine,
Right.
I'm the realtor to sell your house. And then when Donald Trump was getting elected, you hate Trump so much you want to move to Canada, I'll sell your house. Or, oh God,
Yeah.
the worst one is like pushing the clock forward. Like, let's spring into spring in a new house. Let me buy, like, I'm the agent to use you. It's like, that is not marketing, people,
Right.
and that's trash. And it's upsetting that people think that's what works. So
Well, there's no like personal connection from the person posting. You know, like I think that's what like if you're posting memes and stuff like that, the thing that makes it funny is if you have a personal
Exactly.
connection to it. But like posting like, oh, is this a house you want to be quarantined in? Like
Yeah.
nobody has a personal connection.
And that's the thing, is I might do less deals because of that, but it's like I've also told people too, it's like, you gotta, like, for you guys, you could literally send your magazine out to 1,000 people, 1,000 of the top agents. You could interview so many more people to bring in so much more business or revenue, but you've decided, no, we are a top producing magazine, and that's
Right.
our brand, and that's what we're sticking. Same thing with me. I could probably do more deals if I was banging the phones and harassing people and going hard in the paint and being that guy as like a salesman. But it's like, I'm content where I'm at, and I think that's where I don't care about numbers either. You know what I
Right.
mean? It is what it is. So, you guys obviously moved out here from the East Coast, and you're from Riverside, so you guys were coming back. So how was the transition coming back? Obviously you did a magazine out there, but was there any hiccups coming into the magazine out here? Like trying to know who the people you need to speak to, or did you guys already kind of have a...
No, it was cool to kind of like have a fresh start and do everything that we did there better.
Yeah.
And there was interesting because we had lived in South Carolina. We hadn't lived in North Carolina for that long. We're not from there, so we didn't really have personal connection. So that was what was cool about coming here, is that you can trace like every single person that we've met with, like back. It goes all the way back to like one of our friends that we went to high school with that gave. I think it was Clay that told us about James Monk's, and James Monk's, so that's been really cool here, is that we have so much history here, that it's been great to, number one, have a fresh start with, even like we were talking about before with like, you would have switched your rugs, like,
Oh yeah.
being able to like,
And I'm just too cheap to do it. No, that's strictly. I've gone to Target and they have the rug I want, but it's like to switch to the rug, it's like $300,
Yeah.
and I'm like, what's the point? Like,
what am I doing?
Why am
Yeah.
I spending $300 for rugs?
but if you had the opportunity to start from the beginning, knowing what you knew at the
Yeah.
end, was kind of what we came into, which is really cool.
Yeah, we just saw it as a great opportunity. And like she was saying, it was interesting because we could have gotten here and basically pulled a list and find out who all the top players are and just start going after that. But because what we do, the whole platform is, we want it to be based on genuine connection and relationship amongst this group of top producers. And so we knew that, because ultimately that's what we're offering to our advertisers, our affiliate partners. They're for them to make connections with top producing agents. So we realized that if we don't have that, then how can we take someone's money and say that we're going to give them that opportunity? So like she said, it really was like ground zero. 2 realtors that we literally went to high school with that live in Riverside, Mandy and Brian Perone, they own Delia's Grinders, and she's an agent, and met with them, and then just, who are a couple top agents that that you can connect us with, and really just built it all from there, where you can almost trace the whole thing back to those 2. But we wanted to, we knew them, we had a relationship with them, they trusted us, we trusted them, and which is what we did in North Carolina. But I think we were able to really be laser focused in it and do each one of those parts better. Yeah.
When we started the magazine in North Carolina, we were the second publication nationally to start, and it was still kind of running as a trade publication. And so when we started that, we were like, we really had no idea what we were doing or what the magazine was going to be. And it took meeting with people for us to kind of like formulate and like really bring a cohesive plan together of what the magazine was going to be. So, very different here, where we knew exactly, these are the types of people that we want to feature. We want to include their family. We want to include their team. We want it to be really personal and intimate. So,
do you guys ever feel like you guys are like, do you guys ever feel like sometimes like magazine after magazine after magazine each month that it's like, okay, we had the the husband and wife team, and we just had the husband and wife team last month. Like, okay, now this, especially
It
right
is.
now, and
Every
then you're like,
single issue is a balancing act because we want them all to be,
yeah,
So we're taking into account gender, ethnicity, where they live, what their brokerage is, and we really try as much as we can to have it be as diverse in every way possible, which is exhausting.
Well, I mean, it's just like I know you guys shot with Ben from Amaya's group in a stadium, right? And like then like I was talking about, I was like, well, I used to be in baseball for 9 years. Oh, we shoot in the stadium. It's like, no, well, you just shot in a stadium. Like, I'm not shooting in a stadium.
It
if
is.
You just shot in a stadium.
Yeah, it's a total balance.
And then like even the car thing, right?
Right.
So like my grandpa passed away in August. I still have his wagon.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, maybe we'll do like take a shot with the wagon. I'm like, well, he just did that one with Jesse. Like that doesn't make sense. Like they're not gonna want to do a car. You know what I mean? Like, so it's like even I was thinking, I'm like, well, we can't do that because that won't make sense. And then when you guys were like. Well, where are we gonna do a night shot? I'm like, I have no idea. I'm not sure.
What kind of wagon is it?
It's an Oldsmobile. Fits 7.
Awesome.
It has the fake wood paneling on the side and stuff. Yeah. So he had that thing. Like he had 2 cars my whole life, and it was a wagon, and then that wagon broke down. He bought another wagon.
That's amazing.
And it still runs. I don't even know how. Like that thing sat outside my apartment for like 3 months.
Yeah.
Didn't start it. Threw a new battery in it. Start up immediately.
Wow.
It's a boat. I don't know how that old man. He was 92 when he passed away, and he was driving 3 weeks before he passed away.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know how he drove that thing. I can't even drive it.
Yeah.
It is insane that he drove that car, and like I looked the body, like there's no like scrapes. It's not like he hit something. No, I don't even know.
Made it work.
Our kids had a funny moment. Our teenagers driving with Mark's grandpa, like right before his kids came in and were like, yeah, you're done driving. But our kids were like, because he's, like Popo's like looking back in the back seat, and like our kids are like, Popo, you should probably keep your eyes on the road. And they got out and they were like, we are never driving with Popo ever again.
Yeah. Yeah, he was really good still. The only thing that was hard for him was the only thing hard for him was sometimes like new places, right? Like directions, like,
right.
Like, hey, I need you to go here. And if he didn't really know where it was at, especially if it was like in Moreno Valley or something, I would have to drive him because it's like he didn't have GPS and, stuff like that. But no. So it's like same thing. I was like, oh, we'll do a car shot. I'm like, well, we can't do a car shot. He just did a car shot.
We'll save it because we're going to do a whole car issue. So that's perfect for the car issue.
Yeah, no. And then we have the scooter,
Yeah.
I bought a scooter one day on eBay, and then
What kind?
I have a 1980 or 1970 Honda Trail 90.
That's amazing.
And I just put a new motor in it.
Yeah.
And so now it goes like 75. And we just totally redid the whole thing. We're actually gonna go riding. It was actually a lender out of Oceanside built it for me because he built one, and I was like, hey, I want to switch out the motor. He's like, oh, bring it down, I'll build it. And so we're actually going down there on Sunday, and we're gonna go scooter riding. Nice. So we've like have the whole build on tape. So now that it's almost done, there's like one other thing we have to do, and now we're gonna go like right at the beach have Brant tape it, and then put some cool little lifestyle video together.
That's awesome.
Those things are fun.
They're just, dude, that's the thing I don't understand with agents and people in the industry. It's like, dude, how do you just show up to work every day in the office and not have fun and do stuff and go do cool stuff and and that's why I think we're trying to be different, where it's like, dude, let's just do stuff that no one else does, and let's see if it brings us business. If it does, great. If not, great. You know what I mean? I enjoy it, so I'll just keep doing it.
Well, I think that's the thing that most people are really looking for, is that authenticity where someone is comfortable in their own skin and just being themselves. People are just drawn to that because I think underneath we all want that. So when we see someone else that is able to do it, just, law of attraction type thing, where it's just people want to connect with that person.
Do you guys get a lot of pushback of other people that don't want to be in the magazine? Like where you reach out to them, they're like, nah, I'm cool.
No.
Very seldom,
Very rarely.
And usually, like, it's only happened one time here.
Yeah.
And it's just they're really private. You look at their social media,
Super
and
shy.
they're not putting personal stuff out. Because I think, and when it does happen, it's because although we're featuring top real estate agents, it's kind of a given they're a top agent. So in the article, we're usually focusing more on the personal side, like who are they outside of real estate, which I think as an agent, you should be putting that out there. But we'll run into some where it's like, I don't want to put my family out there like that. But it was interesting, in North Carolina, the second issue we ever put out back there, which we usually have to wrap up the second issue before the first one even comes out. So the agent out there is a good friend of ours now, Jim Allen. He's He's a #1 agent with Coldwell Banker in the world. Did like over 500 million, I think, last year. And we did the photo shoot with his wife and his kids at his house. And at first he was like, yeah, I don't really want to do that. Just me and my team. And I'm not a pushy person at all, but I knew that was going to really set the stage to what the magazine was and that personal side, and people would just kind of follow whatever Jim did. So he agreed to it, and he came up to me a few months later after the shoot. We were at one of our events. He said, I want to thank you for kind of pushing me to put myself out there. He said, the response and the feedback I've gotten from other top agents, he's like, I didn't realize how much of a kind of robot I had become, that I was lacking in more personal connection with other top agents because they didn't see me as a real person. I think someone, especially like that's been in real estate a number of years, just easy for that to happen. So that's
they're like, they feel like they're so far to reach.
Right.
Obviously probably that agent in Riverside is probably Brad Alwine, right? And what's funny is, when I first started, a lot of people, Brad's the same way, like kind of like no one really knows a lot about him or whatever. And, I remember it was like one of these things where like, I don't know what happened. Like, I think he DM'd me on Instagram, like when my grandpa passed away. And then we just kind of kept on going back and forth. And like now me and him are at a point where like literally I text him, I DM'd him the other night and I was like, hey, I have a question that I think you can, you're the only person I feel that could answer it.
Right.
Can we talk? And he texted me the next morning, like, yeah, give me a call at, after 12 o'clock, called him. We talked for like 10 minutes on the phone. I was like, hey, I really appreciate you taking that time. And I don't think a lot of people think Brad would take the time to make that phone call because he is, that guy in Riverside that does so many deals and has been around forever, and anything over $1 million, his name's almost on it and stuff like that. And like, so it is like, and I'm me. Like I could, if I'm not a other producing agent, like, yeah, they get intimidated. I think people are intimidated for me for some reason. I've heard that people think people are scared to talk to me, which I don't know why. I mean, I'm not a jerk. I mean, maybe a little bit, but
you're like, I'm talking all the time.
I talk all the time, right?
So they're probably thinking they're just gonna put a camera in my face.
Probably that's what it is. Like, is there some hot mic somewhere that they're worried?
Like, are you recording this?
It is funny how many people say that. I don't know if it happens to you guys either, because now you have a camera guy. It's like they say something, and I'm like, dude, we edit all the time. Like, I will never make, and I tell people all the time, I will never make anyone look bad on camera.
Right.
I will never make you look bad. I will never let you say something. I was like, I am very responsible. Yeah. And I know the level of responsibility that's out there or that we take on to be in these positions. I'm like, I would never make you look bad or to say something that might be controversial or nothing. I
think people just aren't used to it, where like with still photography, we're at a place where, especially if it's a professional photographer, they're assuming, okay, they're gonna get my good angle.
Yeah.
They're gonna edit it if they need to. Where video, I think it's newer still for most people, where they don't have that same assumption I think they do with still photography.
Do you feel like the East Coast, where you guys are from, to here, like, do you see a big difference in the top producers there and the top producers here?
I think the culture is really different between, especially because we were in the Carolinas. So I think the culture, like the flavor, is different. I think on the whole, as people, they're pretty similar.
Just different flavor.
Yeah, just kind of a different flavor.
Like it's still ice cream, it's still the same, just different flavor. And it's just culture.
Does it move slower out there? Or is it still like, because everyone says like California moves so fast, like we just move a lot faster. Do you feel like it's a slower pace over there?
I think Riverside, Inland Empire is very similar to where we were.
I think
if we were to go into like LA and Orange County and some of those areas, I think we would probably experience. It's my guess.
Yeah.
Well, and I think if we were doing a comparison of like LA to like Podunk, North Carolina, that would be a pretty big disparity. But because we're like comparing Riverside to Raleigh, it's pretty similar.
Yeah, I mean,
in a lot of ways.
I've debated on going to the beach in or LA to work, because people have always said like, hey, why don't you go work up there? Price point's higher. I just don't know if I could hang, to be honest. Like this is kind of like, I kind of like being the podcast guy, the video guy, and out there. Right. I think there'd be, my mentor Kevion, who lives in Costa Mesa, he has a video guy. So it's like all of a sudden, then you have like today happens, where like so many cameras everywhere.
Right.
Right. So what obviously you guys have started the podcast and now you're doing vlogs and that kind of stuff. Is there something else on the horizon, or are you guys really trying to master that stuff before taking on something new?
Don't let Mark have any new
I'm just
ideas
saying,
while we're here. Throw me a bone at him.
I think our plate's full now with just getting the podcast off the ground to So from the vlog, the podcast, and then the magazine to really, I think we're still trying to figure out how exactly those three things fit together. Mm-hmm. And the bigger vision is they all complement one another. Mm-hmm. And so now we're just
they're really synergistic.
Well. Yeah.
Are you guys going to start trying to have people that you have in the magazine in the podcast? Like, is that going to start going hand in hand?
So where the vlog really is super connected to the magazine. So we're almost every episode is kind of behind the scenes of a photo shoot, but we're trying to implement a lot of our personal life into that as well. Otherwise, it's just the same episode over and over. But the podcast is kind of our first venture into kind of separating it, where it'll be called Create Podcast, and we'll have a different guest each week. And it'll be it'll be kind of, we're trying to create a niche where it's someone that has created something. Yeah. It's like our first guest, my buddy Ryan Clare, he's a singer-songwriter. He's signed on a label and has put out a couple albums. And so we're going to just sit down and talk about his story and his creative process. And then the next week we might have someone that's a sculptor, or someone that created a new business concept. Mm-hmm. So from the angle of creativity, someone that created someone and just really digging in to their story. So the podcast is, we're kind of separating it.
Not be real estate, all real estate.
Yeah.
Do you sometimes feel like you guys need a break from just real estate?
I don't. I mean, it's not super like life. I mean, we have so many other things happening. We have 6 kids.
But like business wise?
I think I do, but not because of the real estate, but just because of, I always like
it's the same thing
new.
Over. I mean, I feel like it's like, that's why I said like the real estate. It's like we're all almost the same. You know what I mean? Like we really are. Like we're not that different.
Well, and that's why we try to dig in so deep with each photo shoot to have it really be that person's personal life, because that would get so mind numbing for me as the photographer.
Oh, for sure.
To just be like,
as I kept you guys in my office the whole time.
No, yours was awesome. We haven't shot in anybody's office before.
Perfect.
Yeah. And you have like your office wins.
Thank you. That was my main goal. I only got this office because of ego. That was the only reason. I swear on my life, and I have no problem putting this on camera, I only got this office for ego.
It's an amazing office. And we have not done a shoot in an office, I don't think, at all.
So it's a whole reason like I built this room, right?
Yeah.
It's like, okay, cool, we have that. Okay, what else does no one have? Okay, let's build a podcast room. And it makes it easier because we were struggling because we were doing the on-road podcast, right? Like cool place to cool people going. But then it starts getting to the point where it's like, people are wanting to, I mean, I had people like, oh yeah, you come to LA. I'm not driving 3 hours to do a podcast for you to drive back. That doesn't make sense for me. So it was kind of cool to be like, okay, well, people could come here to use the podcast room. Right. You know what I mean? So kind of, I can do more of them and it'll save me time than going out and doing it and then coming back. And
for sure.
But we're still going to do the other one whenever things go back to normal.
Yeah. So are you going to start doing one here? What's the frequency?
So we're trying to do one. Literally, I think I have like 4 next week here. Okay. So like I literally, especially right now, I really feel like, how do I want to say this in a nice place? It's me and my podcast, whatever I can fit anyway. Like I'm so tired of seeing people in the industry, and it's mostly people in the industry, like say, hey, we're here for you. You know, we're here for you small businesses, but then like you don't ever see them do anything for small businesses. You know, they just make that one post. Because really, what are you going to do for these people? Nothing. So for me, like I'm literally hitting people up like, yo, I see you own a small business. Do you want to come talk about your small business on my podcast?
That's awesome.
Hey, hey, I see that you do this. Boom. You want to, like me and Retro Tacos were DMing each other. Yo, I see, I know things are tough right now. Do you want to come? We could do one. Well, because
love Retro Taco, man.
We could do it right. Good. I'm pissed. They're supposed to open the hot kitchen right here. Yeah. And they might not because of all this. And I really want the hot kitchen open. Because I'm like a big, I like spicy sausages and sandwiches. So I was talking to them the other day. But so this room is really going to be just how I can produce more of them. I'd like to drop 2 a week because we're really trying to go hard on YouTube, more followers and stuff like that, because it's just another way to make money on, whatever. Just like I was talking to Tom about his podcast, because he was talking about starting a podcast. I'm like, dude, how are you not doing a podcast? And we were talking about it. And I was like, think about it, dude. How many people see the magazine? 500 people. Great. I said, and you're charging blank amount of dollars for advertisement. What if 500 people watched another 500 people watched just the podcast? I'm like, that's more revenue. And then I'm like, what if it gets to 1,000, 2,000, 10,000, 15,000? It doesn't cost you any more money the more followers you have. I'm like, now you can just charge more revenue. Yeah. It's like my lenders know. Most of the time I'm wearing a modern lending hat, but my hair looks good today. Is like, I tell them all the time, I'm like, yeah, I might not get a lot of views now, but when this gets bigger, that's going to cost you guys money. Because if not, I'm free advertising for you.
Yeah.
What's the difference of me throwing your face on the back of my van to me having this sponsored by Modern Lending?
Right.
And I think that's going to be the new age that I don't think a lot of realtors
sure.
are realizing. And I think another thing that I've also thought about a lot is like when brokerages start paying you. Like, I know we pay brokers, but I think there is going to come a time where brokers start paying us. Where if you're a really top famous producing agent and you have a big online following of other agents and you are able to post, hey, I work at Signature Real Estate Group, it's the greatest company in the world, and because of that you get all this following and whatever, I think that's going to matter soon. I really do. And I really think it will matter with lenders and title and escrow and, hey, sponsored by Showcase Escrow today or whatever you want to say. Oh, why did I say my old broker's escrow? Sponsored by the escrow company. And I think that's a way to make money that people just aren't thinking about.
Well, it's so interesting if you think about like what has happened to TV commercials. Like TV commercials were like the pinnacle of advertising for decades. And when was the last time you like? We
I don't
don't
have
even
TV.
have TV.
I don't have TV.
Yeah, we don't even have TV.
No, I really don't. And so that's another thing too about this place that I'm gonna like, this podcast room, because I can have returning people, like kind of like Joe Rogan does, where he does other ones, but then he has his buddies always coming back,
right?
And just hopping on the pod. I mean, we're thinking about even putting a TV right up there so we could watch stuff. Like, I think it'd be really cool to like, I'm an ex-umpire. We're actually thinking about doing this podcast. I'm an ex-umpire. My buddy's boss is an ex-minor league baseball player, and like watching games together and like just talking baseball and like, and if something happens, being like, how would you react as a player? How am I reacting as an umpire? Stuff like that.
Yeah,
or
that's
even,
cool.
I think it's just ways to stay in front of people that aren't just, hey, I sell real estate.
Right.
Well, and with like podcasting, it's crazy what's happened, and where you think of just, it wasn't that many years ago for a lot of celebrities, if they were pitching a movie, they would go on the Tonight Show, right? Where now, like, you have people going on shows like Hot Ones, like, and Joe Rogan, like, that's where they're going to pitch their movie, that's where they're going to pitch their product, because that's where the attention is. It's amazing how quickly that, obviously it had been percolating for a while, but that shift just happened. I think a lot of people haven't realized and caught up yet.
I just think it's a lot cheaper than people think to do this. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's more money in this room than I want to admit, but it's not, you don't have to do this to put stuff out. And I think that's the biggest thing too, is like the Yeti mics that we first got, like those are like $95. Like you could literally do a podcast just sitting with 2 Yeti mics, and you don't need to have 3 cameras. You can just have 1 camera. So you don't have to have all that, and you could have your iPhone recording you guys, and I think too, I would wish I could do a podcast with just me talking, but I'm not there yet to just sit here and chat with myself and like videotape. I don't think I'm entertaining enough.
I have one that I listen to like that called the Be There in 5 podcast. And she does that where she just like talks. She's so entertaining.
Really?
Yeah. Like, I mean, you guys are similar. I mean, I think you might be surprised if you just got talking.
Like I said, I wish I could like do memes. Like if I could just be like blurred out face, because I would love to do, me and Tom were talking, I would love to do real estate stories. Right. Because I think, God, there is so many stories. You can do it with
like the black bar across your eyes.
I think there's so many stories that just people just don't realize that are out there that do not realize what happened. I mean, I screenshot and put it on Instagram this morning. I had an agent I'm in escrow with text me at 11 o'clock last night, seeing if they could do an Avid on Saturday. I'm like, why are you texting me at 11 o'clock at night, dude? So, you all right over there? You need a chair? No, you sure? Yeah. You want to lean up on something? Yeah. Dude, you guys got a workhorse over here, man.
He's the best.
So what made you guys so have you seen a big difference in your creative ability now that he's over here?
For sure.
I mean, if he's off camera, but they have their own camera guy like we do. Like, do you feel like that has just like taken you to the next level?
Well, it's totally like brought a whole additional skill set and technological knowledge and range that we didn't have, which has been amazing. Like the editing, because usually the way we've worked together for almost a decade, and usually the way it works is Mark will have an idea and then he's like, so I need you to figure out how to blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And then I'm like, and then I go and like kind of figure out the technical side of it. So we were looking at me figuring out how to edit
it's
video.
So hard.
And
And to make it look good, it's so...
Oh my gosh.
I just don't have the eye.
Yeah.
Like, you at least have a photographer eye. I have zero eye.
Right. It's one of those things where theoretically I would be able to do that, but the time. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's been the amazing part about having Antonio, is that he knows how to do it. So then the three of us can kind of like synergistically be like the creative, because so much of, as you know, all of it is technical.
Yeah.
And if you don't understand how the equipment works or why it's not working, or you know, like, it's a major...
If I could go
stop
back,
for
I would have
creativity.
hired someone 4 years ago when I would have hired
Right.
someone the second I got into real estate. If I literally could, you know, we were talking about going back and starting over.
Right.
If I could start over, that would have been the first person I would have hired.
Yeah.
I would have hired a personal videographer the second I got a job.
Yeah.
But I think the key in making it work, which you guys have this element as well, is like with Antonio, where like he has the creative side, you know, he's a film student, wants to make movies. So we really wanted someone that was coming from that angle and had that perspective. So that's there, and that's great. But I think even not more important, but equally as important to that is what you guys have, is working with someone that you connect with and someone that you like he's feels like a friend, part of our family, you know. Like, I think when you, and I think this relates to all aspects of business, where I remember years ago someone that I was kind of coaching with, and we were talking about hiring people, and he's like, honestly, man, the first thing I look for is would I want to hang out with this person?
Would I go to dinner with this person?
Would I like this person? So I think we're super fortunate to have him, because to have the technical side, the creative side, but just someone that you can connect with, because I think that's where creativity can really flourish. Like, when we can sit down and edit and just screw around and laugh and talk and connect and talk about our personal life and how's your girlfriend, stuff like that.
Talking about his mixtapes.
Yeah.
Yeah, mixtapes, dude. Nice. I think that's the thing too. But I will say it's so hard to find.
It is.
It is so hard, and that's probably what held me off, because I would have loved to had someone when I first like got the keys to this place and ripped all the floors out and painted and all that stuff. I would have loved to have someone document that, but I tried to find someone. It was so difficult to find someone to shoot it and be on their stuff and actually know what they're doing and
be like a responsible
loyal adult,
intelligent,
yeah.
person.
You would think like, oh yeah, you know, and then people even said like, oh, I tried college students. You know, I had guys that were like, oh, I want $80 an hour. I'm like, no, like literally, dude, I'm like, you would make more a year than I do, like, you know, and I'm having to pay. And the one thing too, like, you know, probably my guys are getting, I know that is like, you know, they've never done podcasts before. So it's like, okay, here's how, like, let's just try it out. Let's try how to do podcast room, how to do this, how to do that. You know?
Was us last week. We were like, we think this plugs into here. Let's see.
We're like 10 minutes before.
That's what I tell people too. Just, I'm like, I've done the trial and errors. I know exactly what we used to run this all to like a laptop.
Right.
To GarageBand, never worked out right. So then I told the boys, I'm like, all right, I'm tired of jumping, trying to rig this a certain way for it to work. I'm like, what is like the least expensive but will get the job done exactly what we want? And they're like, just buy the Zoom H6. I'm like, okay, $200 and something, $300 later, let's just buy it. You know what I mean? Even the mics, this is all round 2. I wish I would have done this round 1. Right? We spent a lot of money on round 1, and we were like finally like, all right, let's just go round 2.
Right.
You know? And I think that's the other thing too, is like, just ask. It's better to ask people that have already done it, because you'll save so much money and time.
For sure.
And they'll tell you what works and doesn't work. So for you guys, like, you know, the question I have for you about the magazine is that if you only send it out to 500 people, how do you guys judge the growth of the magazine?
I think for us, and we were talking about this lately, so we have that group of agents, right? Mm-hmm. So we kind of have 2 different groups that we're working with. So we have that group of 500 agents, and then we have our affiliate partners. Yeah. They make it all possible. And the way we personally monitor it is, I think, our personal connection and relationship with them. Like, and this pandemic has been really great for us, because I feel like we've connected with our partners here in a way that we even really weren't able to do in North Carolina, because we were forced to go virtual and pivot. We've been connecting with them. Mm-hmm. We've been connecting with them so much more, 1, because we have the time, and 2, we're taking money from them. We want to make sure that it's worth it. You know, we're not just about taking someone's money. I don't feel comfortable taking it if I'm not giving them value for it. So I think we measure it by our connection with those agents, and And I think when we look back at North Carolina, the things that make us feel like we were successful is like agents like inviting us, to their Christmas parties. And like, even now we've been gone for a year and just like messages and we miss you guys. And so I think that's the measuring stick for us, even more than the finances and how many advertisers we have and how big is it and how big is our podcast. It's how deep are those relationships.
Do you guys ever expand the magazine on pages for more advertising space?
Yeah, so we run on a ratio of like content to advertisers. And so each time, we kind of add an ad, we add some pages, so it kind of like goes like that. So I think we were at like 80-ish pages in Raleigh when we left. I think we started here at 28.
Yeah.
So we have to go up in 4-page increments. So that's kind of like if you're looking for like the quantifiable thing, as we add advertisers, we add more. Like we start out doing 4 articles each month, and then that kind of increases as the magazine increases in pages.
And then are you guys worried, obviously, like, I know you guys have an app. Are you guys able to track like how many people go to the app and look at the magazine too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then do you guys advertise that or no?
We do. So 3 years ago we were about a year deep into the magazine there, and we're, like Marissa was talking about earlier, we're part of a larger network of real producers. There's about 115 of them. We launched, we're like second or third one to launch. And then I work for the publishing company as well as part of the leadership team, but then we own the territory here. So about a year in there, we realized we didn't have any type of digital component, and just something you just have. It's just an expectation, So we started working on. We found a developer and we created and designed it. But really, I think we could probably push it more now than we are. But it's almost like the printed version will always be the most important thing. Like it's kind of a badge of honor to get it. We have agents out in North Carolina that would send me text messages and like pictures on their vision board that says make the top 500 so that I get the magazine.
Yeah.
So it kind of over time it becomes that kind of thing.
We always get text because it doesn't ever deliver in one day. They kind of space it out. So if somebody gets it before, we're getting texts like, I didn't get mine. I'm like, just give it a couple days. It takes the post office a couple days to deliver it.
Yeah. But the app, I think we've launched it in about 60 of the other markets now are using our app. And so I think we're kind of figuring out where it fits in the niche, but mostly it's just it's another layer of value.
Yeah.
Like that's the one thing in our business, it's the more layers you have, then the harder it is for you to be, penetrated in a negative way. It's like, even if you make a mistake, like we made a mistake recently we didn't run an ad for one of our clients, totally missed it, fell through the cracks, reached out to him and let him know like, hey, we're going to take care of you. And her response was, I'm not worried about it. I know you guys well. And that made me feel really good.
That's the hugest measure of success, I think, for us.
That was a big deal. We took their money and they didn't have their ad in the magazine. And so for me to say we're going to take care of it, and she was like, I know you will. That told me like, okay, we're good. There were so many layers of value underneath that when we missed one, it's like, I trust you that you'll get back to it. So to kind of circle back to the measuring stick, that's a big part of it for us.
Yeah.
Are you guys the only ones doing, obviously you said there's other people that own other markets and whatever. Are you guys really the only people that are doing the podcast and the video? And then are you starting to see maybe like more people like wanting to maybe start that, and you guys are kind of like leading the charge?
Yeah, there's a couple that are, I think to the scale that we're doing it, we're the first ones for sure. There's some others that are doing podcasts and some vlogs, but maybe not as consistent, not kind of to the scale that we are.
And not as targeted.
So
just kind of random. They just do random stuff. Yeah.
So we're like really taking it to the next level. And like Tom, I had a conversation with him last week because he reached out to me and asking questions and kind of had a meeting with him of like, dude, this is similar to what you had. This is what you should be doing, especially for someone like him, like adventure guy.
Yeah, he already runs a company too.
I was like, Tom, you have so much interesting content. Like you just start putting it out in these formats. But yeah, we're starting to see that in the other markets of people realizing like this is a really good way to add more value.
I think like sometimes I always wonder like, should I go harder on? We were talking about like bringing value, right? Like I've almost thought about honestly going harder with agent tips right? Because I feel like there's so many agents, numbers why there's so many of them starving for information.
Right.
So it's like, is that something I go down of giving like tips to agents? I'm not sure. That's kind of something I've been on the fence about right now.
Yeah, I can see that being a difficult. I can see both sides of that. Like on the one hand, the competition aspect, but on the other hand, I think that like where you are in comparison to where a lot of them are, like you have so much to give with that.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I mean, I think that our life experience has been generosity always like comes back tenfold.
I think the hard thing is like putting it on camera.
Right.
Like a lot of it's like in moment. And I think that's the one thing that a lot of people don't realize, obviously people look at us and top producers or whatever. And I don't think I'm even close to, the top producers, but like it happens in moments. It's how you respond in a moment. It's not a click funnel or it's not that, or it's not a way to connect. Like it's literally in a moment. How do you do it? Or what do you say to someone? Or when it's hard to explain, you know what I mean?
And that's the cool thing about there being so many different platforms, because it's not necessarily something that you're going to do a YouTube video about, but it could be an Instagram story.
For sure. And that's the thing too, is like, do you guys ever feel like, and this is sometimes where you can't like stop? That's right. Like sometimes I want to take a break and I'm just like, I can't. Like, or I see like, oh man, I only posted 4 times today on stories. Oh my God, I posted nothing today. Seriously. Like, do you guys ever feel like you're going down a road where you're like, dude, it's like, I don't think people think about that, where it's like, I have to keep this up.
Right.
And it's like, now I like just messing around on YouTube for a week. I was like, I could see how people get YouTube burnout. Like even 1 week,
sure.
I'm like, so tired.
So much
tags and descriptions and SEO stuff and this and cover pad and I'm like, man, I don't know if I could do this for 5 years. Like
that's kind of, I think, the nice thing about like the push pull between us, because Mark is like the idea guy, like always running ahead, and I'm like, okay, but we have to do this forever.
Yeah.
And we have 6 kids. And
well, because
all these other businesses, so like let's systematize it and figure out what's reasonable to be doing on a daily basis.
Because I'm starting to, what you were talking about, I'm starting to feel that now, especially with just launching the podcast and the vlog, keeping up with the different social media outlets, plus doing the magazine. And I mean, between the 3 of us, my brother's our writer, and we have Laney's our basically a manager running the whole show with all of that. And it's almost like a treadmill, right? It's like, okay, I'm going to put it at level 9, and it's like a treadmill that once you get to that level, you can't go back. You know? The beauty of a treadmill is like, okay, I'm going to go back down to 5 or 6 to catch my breath. But you really can't do that in today's environment, in this world. So I think the key is finding a number that you're comfortable with. Because a lot of people I see making mistakes is they'll go up to a 9 and then down to a 2 and then they disappear. And it's just that inconsistency. People just tune you out.
Well, it's just there's too much noise. Like people do like, looking forward to their Wednesday night TV shows. I think it's the same thing with Instagram and Facebook. I will say one thing I do struggle with is posting about something if a client follows me and something bad happened in their deal that day. Like I am very like it's like I had plans to go play golf with buddies, and then your deal fell out of escrow, which I have no control over. But then I know like, oh, I'm not posting, I'm golfing today, because it's like I don't want them to see like, oh, what's Adam doing today? Oh, our deal just fell out of escrow and he's playing golf. He don't care. And I think that's something that like I'm always trying to be conscious about, but then gets so tiring because it's like it would be nice to like be on vacation and post that I'm on vacation. And that's something I don't do. You know, I have to like hold it. You'll see it in a vlog like 2 weeks later. The guys came in with stuff, but that's all. I always wonder when people are producing content. It's like, do you ever feel like, like can I ever take a week off?
Right.
And I think, and it's sad. It's like it probably wouldn't matter, but in our heads, it's like if I just took 1 week off, I always think I'm like, what if I lost a deal because of that?
Right.
It's
just a balance. I think it's like such an interesting balancing act between like people reaching saturation with the content that you're posting versus, I think for all of us, the goal is that we're staying just right below whatever that saturation mark is. And I think it takes trial and error to figure out where that is, you know.
Are you guys seeing? I know this on. It's funny. It's people ask me. I laugh like on holidays. That's when like most people post so much, and I never post on holidays.
Yeah.
I literally am like I am not on social media today. Like I need to take a break. Do you guys see like? Are you guys trying to make your vlogs longer, shorter? Do you guys know yet, or is it trying to kind of just whatever he edits?
We try to keep them like short and peppy. Is always our goal with them.
Well, I saw you guys walking right now. Do you guys feel like? How do you guys feel doing that? Like when you're like walking and you're like, hey, like, you know, and he's videotaping you and you guys are walking down.
I just have to pretend like it's not happening.
Yeah.
Like, I love you, but I totally pretend like you're not there. Like, you just do not even, because for me, like, I'm like doing my job.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know, I hold the camera so that I'm not on camera because I don't like being filmed or photographed. So I just like, for me, I'm like, whatever, we're just walking because Antonio doesn't exist right now.
Yeah.
So it's fine.
That was so awkward for me at the beginning. Because for me, like, I have a fear of not being genuine and authentic. And so I think at the beginning, especially watching it back, like me being intentional and not being the like, hey, and like super peppy guy, I went kind of to the other extreme where I'm like, I think I'm a little more peppy than that actually.
Yeah.
Normally, like I was.
It's like finding your
voice. So it's been an interesting process to find that balance where I'm still me and talking the same way, but I think just like anything, the more you do it.
I don't, and that's the thing too. It's like sometimes I feel the same way. Sometimes I'm like, I go to that edge where I'm like, hey everyone, what's going on today? And then I'm like, and then I'll sometimes be like, and then I'm like, well, I'm not that guy either. It's like trying to figure out like that. Right. Craziness, you know what I mean, of like the balance of like who you are and
and we're human beings, right? Like sometimes you're just having a more subdued day, and you know, like, so I think that there's an element of like having your consistent voice but still being authentic with like, I'm having a bad day.
I'll say that when you guys do like podcasts all the time, that is one thing that's very hard. Like there's been moments where deals are falling apart or whatever, and I have to walk in and do a podcast with someone, and these podcasts are easy for me. Like, hey, we're just chatting. But when I'm having something at someone's business and I'm trying to promote them, I'm thinking like, okay, what question can I? Educated. First, you got to do your homework, which people don't understand. You got to go in, you got to read, you got to like. I did one for my buddy who was an ex-professional boxer. So like, I'm literally like reading like his stats and like how long he boxed for and why and his losses and stuff. And then it's like we're in the gym and. In his gym, like ring, and then there's like dinging going off, and then I'm trying to answer questions like how do I keep it going, and then if they don't answer questions well, you're like, okay, and then
you're like, next
question.
What else do I have?
So and then you're like afterwards you're like, whew, tired.
Yeah.
Well, we've had that happen. Well, because you know, like I said, we've worked together for almost a decade. We're married. We're best friends. We've business partners. Well, we've had days where we're like in the middle of a huge fight. Yeah. And we're like
walking into a photo shoot.
Yeah.
Like, and hello.
Hey everyone. I'll say this. Whenever I get married, that will be a task that my wife will have to have. I don't care what happened the second that car door opens and we're in a van or whatever. Hey, what's going on, everyone? Good to see you. That is like a skill set that I don't think people that are in our industry or in whatever industry that like know that. Right. Like you have to be on and you have to turn it off.
You have to be able to put it in the box. Like, I'll see you later. We can continue fighting.
Yeah.
But we had one of those recently.
Yeah.
We did, yeah.
Really big fight. And then it's like, okay, here we are.
Did you guys fight over vision or no? Like, you see an article going this, oh, that's a quick. Yeah. Like when you guys write an article and your brother's a writer, do you guys like, does he write it and then you guys are like, no, take that out. We don't like that, you know?
We try to let him just because he works generally with the realtor on that. So we try to stay as much out of it as we can. We will usually like steer it on the front end. Yeah. Like this is what we really liked about this person. This is what's being included in the shoot. So we try to steer it on the front end instead of more micromanaging on the back end of that.
I think, and we don't really, I don't think we've ever fought about.
We don't generally.
We got an argument about a cover picture one time.
I would say one time.
Well, like an actual. Usually, it's just like a disagreement. We'll figure it out. But one time we actually got in a fight.
Yeah, we did get in a big fight about a cover.
That was fun.
Is it awkward when they're arguing and you're just kind of standing there with a camera on?
We're pretty good about like keeping it. He doesn't get in the middle of it too much.
Yeah, I'd actually be interested to know. Don't say it, but if you know which photo shoot recently we were in a huge fight.
Yeah, I'm thinking about it now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's like, now
He's
I know.
like, now every time he walks in, he's going to be looking at tails like, okay,
Yeah,
let's
he's
see how
like,
they're
"What's
acting together.
happening?" Yeah. I would say that we we very rarely agree immediately on anything creatively.
Mm-hmm.
So we disagree pretty consistently, but we don't fight. I mean, we're pretty good about and we both kind of know,
Yeah.
this is my wheelhouse, this
Yeah.
is yours, where I feel like we do a good job of give and take, where I'm like, I can see what you're saying and that makes sense and let's do it that way.
Yeah, and I think over time I was terrible at it before we've both figured out how to get there, when to back off,
Yeah.
and when to know this is my lane, and okay, I or even just timing. So much of it I think could just be timing. This is not the best time.
Right.
Maybe I'm right, but this is probably definitely not the best time to bring it up, and that I think that historically that got in our way.
Right.
On my end anyway.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Both sides.
Well, that's awesome, guys. Well, we're right at an hour right now, and I'm starving. I haven't eaten all day, and we got probably Amazon's called me 20 other times.
They probably have.
They probably have. I don't know what they need.
They're very serious.
Whatever they
it
have
is.
of mine, they're intense.
Yeah.
And I know it's my YouTube book.
Oh, nice.
That's my last one. Do you guys ever get tired of always what's the next new thing? I think something it's sometimes I'm like, can I just be content what I have here? All right. Do I need to start a podcast room? Do I need to go hard on YouTube?
Yeah. I am in a constant state because I do not love change. I do not love the cycle of learning something new.
Yeah.
So I'm always like, we're good.
Yeah.
But your personality is you're on to the next thing before we've even figured out the current thing every time.
I haven't experienced that yet.
Yeah,
No.
I haven't ever seen
I think the hard part too for me is that I truly sometimes debate maybe if I was in LA, right? That it'd be a lot easier to find people that do this, not in real estate, but do this, and that they, because I feel like I'm the test dummy in this market, right? It's even talking to Tom. Tom's like, well, what do you have? Can you email me the gear you use? I'm like, well, this is the third round of gear I bought. So trust me, this is the gear you want to buy.
Right,
he
just
even asked
start
me,
here.
he's like, should I go? I'm like, do not go cheaper. This is the cheapest, best way you can do it. Trust me, I've gone cheaper. They literally sit in a closet somewhere, right? Yeah. And so that's the only thing I sometimes wonder is or even SEO or YouTube or Google Ads or stuff like that. I just feel like in Riverside, or even finding a camera guy, even Riverside in the Inland Empire, it's just so hard to pull that stuff that I sometimes thought well, if I was in LA or Orange County, maybe I'd have an easier job. But then it's everyone does this,
right? You're
them saturated.
a lot more.
Yeah. Well, why don't you guys tell everyone how they can find you if they've got through this whole hour? And I think hopefully they do. It's an entertaining talk. So what's the best way for agents, obviously, and lenders and those kind of people to get a hold of you guys?
Facebook, super easy. Our first name. We have a business page, Inland Empire Real Producers, but our personal Facebook page is probably the best way. Our app, anybody can see the magazine. You have to be a top 500 agent to get the physical copy in the Inland Empire. But if you go to the app, wherever you get your apps, search Digipub. It's DIGAPUB. And then the first thing you do is add your magazine, choose California, Inland Empire. You can see all the past issues on there. All our advertisers have profiles, connects to their websites as well.
Cool. All our vlogs are on there too.
Yeah. Are you guys on YouTube?
Yeah, our YouTube channel is Mark and Marissa Create.
Okay.
So we have all our vlogs are on there, and then our podcasts. We just put the first podcast episode up.
Awesome.
On there as well, yeah.
Awesome. Well, like I said, today was a really cool day. I've never done a photo shoot like that. I've seen so many other agents. I'm like, why am I not ever in a magazine? This is mean. People are probably like, well, where are we going to shoot? Him and his dogs. So, but I appreciate you guys' time.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to seeing the apps. So,
Yeah,
thanks, guys.
Thanks for having us.
All right, bye.